Homing Instincts by Sarusi. A Batman fanfic rated for general audiences, with additional tags for Jason and Stephanie are friends, platonic cuddling, panic attacks, angst, tiny bit of fluff, pigeons, Stephanie Brown once slapped Batman in the face and Jason just thinks that's neat, and Batfam Week 2017. Summary. Not all legacies are good legacies. Stephanie has a bad night, and she and Jason have a talk. For the Batfam Week theme, Legacy. Stephanie could hear the open and close of the apartment's front door from where she lay in the bed. She tugged the blankets up just over her eyes. The room was dark, but not dark enough. Footsteps through the apartment. Footsteps into the room. The bedroom door creaked open, and she clenched her eyes shut. "Yo," Jason said. "I'd guessed Cass." "Sorry, just me." She heard the sound of Jason kicking off his boots, unbuckling his belt, shuffling out of his pants. He would have lost his jacket at the door, so just boxers and the shirt then. Jason sighed deeply and then threw himself backwards onto the bed. It shook under his weight. His arm landed on Steph's face, and she winced and shoved it off of her. "What's the story then, Morning Glory?" Jason asked. "Why are you in my safe house? And/or bed?" Steph buried her face. "Everyone's mad at me," she mumbled. "Who's everyone?" "Everyone. Batman, Oracle, Tim and Cass. Even stupid Damien." Jason whistled. "Impressive. How?" "Because I did something dumb. Again. Apparently," Steph said into the blankets. Jason prodded her firmly in the spine with his elbow. She couldn't help but lean back against it, just for a moment. "Tell all, BG," Jason said. Steph pulled a pillow over her face. "There was this warehouse," she said in a muffled voice. Jason yanked the pillow away and tossed it off the bed. "Speak the hell up." "There was this warehouse," she repeated, blinking rapidly. "It was... Are you up to date on the Zephyrily thing?" "I was leaving that one to the big guy," Jason said. "But I know generally what was going on." "Yeah, okay, so we were working it. It was just clean up by then, you know? But I was in a warehouse on the docks. It was wired from yesterday to tomorrow. I'd gotten everyone out, and I was about to go, but there was a pigeon still in there." "A pigeon?" "Yeah, a pigeon. And I just couldn't leave her behind." "Why not?" Jason sounded genuinely baffled. "Could you not?" "Okay." I know," Steph said, hitching up onto her side so that she could look down at Jason. Not that it mattered, because all the lights were off and they could barely see for shit. "I don't know why. People have been yelling at me all night, and I don't know why I did it." Her heart was beating far too fast, and she was breathing too hard. Jason's fingers snaked up along her arm. He squeezed her upper arm. "Hey, come on. It's okay. I promise." Steph took a deep breath, and then another, and eased back down onto her side. Still facing Jason, her eyes were moist. "I'm taking a bio class, and we're doing birds right now. They're really smart, you know? So much smarter than we think they are. And pigeons, we treat them like shit. There's that whole joke about them being rats with wings, right?" She shivered. "But pigeons are amazing. They have the most amazing homing instincts. They can find their way home over distances that are just unreal." "Yeah?" Jason said. He almost sounded interested. It was a balm, after everything. Nobody earlier that night had given a crap about why exactly Stephanie Brown had taken so long to come crashing out of the window of the warehouse with a pigeon under her elbow and literal fire on her heels. "Yeah," Steph said. "And this pigeon, she only had one leg. She wasn't hopping around as much as normal birds." She laughed. "She was conserving her energy, but she was just so cool." Her eyes started to water again. For the fourth time that night. This time, she let the tears come without fighting them. It was okay to cry with Jason. Jason wouldn't freak out at the sight of tears, or look down on you for crying. "I waited way too long to get out of the building because I was chasing this one-legged pigeon and I just couldn't leave her to die." "Steph," Jason said. "Are you seriously saying you risked your life, rescuing a pigeon from a warehouse that was going to explode?" Yes, Steph said, and her knowledge of Jason's history and her alarm radar combined explosively, screaming, No, get out. But Jason only dragged her into a crushing hug. I'm sorry I wasn't thinking about stuff, she said, muffled against Jason's chest. Shut up, he said, into her hair. I love you. He released her, and despite the darkness, Steph thought she could see Jason blink hard before he flopped back against the pillows. Everybody was so mad at me because I pushed it way too far over a dumb bird. Like, you'd think Damien would have gotten it because he's all about saving the animals, right? She swallowed hard. But he called me stupid, and he wasn't nice about it. And Cass, she didn't say anything, but she looked so disappointed in me. They love you and they were worried about you, Jason said. He kicked her shin gently. Also, they're a bunch of fucking douchebags. You know that they used to compare us? Steph felt Jason stiffen against her. What? So much for relaxation or sleeping. Oops. Batman, everyone. They used to compare you and me, Steph said in a small voice. Like how I was too much like you and I'd get myself killed like you because I was careless, and this had always been on the back of her mind when she talked to Jason. Always as a don't bring this up subject. Jason was volatile, Jason was violent, stay away from Jason, Jason was a failure and angry and made his own end, and don't be like Jason. You're too much like Jason. You'll go out like Jason. But she had. She'd made bad choices that led to a dark face pressing down over her, and the sound of whirring in her ears, and... Steph, honey. Steffi, come on. Someone was stroking her hand, and for one beautiful moment, nothing hurt at all. But when she opened her eyes, her whole body throbbed with remembered pain. The lights were on, and Jason's bright blue eyes stared down into hers. Hey, she managed. She reached out, and, okay, how weird was it that she recognized the feel of Jason's sheets? But that was a Jason thing. He sprang for the highest thread count available for all of his beds in all of his safe houses. Or at least the ones she'd been into. She sat up and pulled her knees all the way up, resting her chin on them and wrapping her arms around her shins. The aching was mostly psychosomatic, she told herself. Mostly. And the rest was just what you got when you spent all night punching people and jumping through pane glass windows. Jason sat beside her, resting a hand on her back, rubbing it lightly up and down her spine. You too? He said. Steph shuddered and shook her head. It's not the same, I know. It was just... I came really close. She laughed brokenly. I felt dead for a long time, like I didn't exist in this world. She leaned against him. I'm really sorry, she said, mostly into his collarbone. His shirt smelled like his sweat. He must have been out earlier, even though he hadn't been out with them. The smell was immensely comforting. It's okay, Steph, he said quietly. It's okay. They sat that way for so long, Steph lost track of time. Jason, she said eventually, feeling daring and dark and suicidal. What was it like to die? Jason took a huge breath and knocked his head against Steph's. It felt like hearing a secret. Jesus Christ, he said, his voice so bleak that it made her shiver, and burrow one hand back underneath the blankets. Awful. It hurt so much. He kept hitting me. I felt every single bone break. I'd hoped I survived, but... Steph felt Jason's whole body shudder next to hers. His breath hitched. She turned her head, and in the lamplight, she could easily see the tears tracking down the side of his face. I knew I was already dying. I really wanted to get out. I was looking for a way to escape, but there wasn't one. The whole time I could feel my death happening. I knew it was coming, every moment of it. Terror and desperation, trying to hope. Right up to the end. I don't remember the explosion, not really. I just remember struggling to breathe and hurting. Oh my God, Steph said. She closed her eyes and felt her own tears sliding down her cheeks. I'm so sorry. What came after, she wanted to ask. If I'd really died, where would I have gone? But she couldn't ask. She was afraid of every single answer, from Jason biting her head off, just for asking, to everything else. They stayed leaning against each other for a few minutes. It was Kind of the same for me, Steph eventually whispered. I know I didn't actually, but I sure felt like I was dying. I thought I did. He kept hurting me, but I never stopped fighting. I never stopped wanting to live. Her whole body rocked forward in a sudden, uncontrollable sob, and she tried desperately to freeze her abdominal muscles. Some voice in her head that sounded way too much like Batman. Or was it Tim? Or Oracle? Stay in control yourself, Stephanie. Control your body. Her teeth were chattering with the effort of it. I remember listening to machines screaming and everything went black. She took a huge gasping breath, and then another. Barely any calmer. I didn't plan it. Okay? It wasn't my idea. It wasn't. Jason hauled Stephanie up against him and laid them both down on the bed, circling himself around her as she sobbed and shook. It's okay, he said. It wasn't your fault. I don't care. Steph clutched Jason's arm, laid over her chest, and cried herself to sleep. Can I just say, Jason called through the door, that I still can't fucking believe they used to compare you to me. Steph gave her hair a last scrub with the towel and shimmied into the set of spare clothes snagged from the dresser she and Cass had claimed months ago, with Jason's begrudging permission. I knew they trashed me, Jason continued. And, fuck them, okay? But that's fresh as hell. What a bunch of complete assholes. You're you. You're amazing. Steph was feeling considerably better after a serious crying jag, followed by a few hours of sleep and a long shower. But hearing someone say nice things about her still felt pretty good right now. I am? She asked, coming out of the bathroom. Fuck yeah, you are, Jason said, pulling her into a one-armed hug. Steph, you made yourself into what you are. None of the rest of us did that. Except for Bruce and maybe Babs. You're my fucking hero. Steph's face turned warm as she hugged Jason back. I think that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Well, that's a fucking shame, Jason said. Man, I wish I'd known all this a month ago. Why? Because I want to punch Bruce in the face for it, but he apologized to me last month, and it would be, I don't know, ungracious to punch him now. I slapped him in the face once, Steph admitted. That's my girl. Steph laughed. What was he apologizing for anyway? He almost never does that. For using me as a bullshit object lesson for you guys. And generally being a douchebag back towards, the end. Wow, I guess he's always been like this. For some reason, the thought disappointed her. She remembered looking up to Batman when she was a kid. He'd inspired her. Actually getting to know him and work with him, well, that had turned out to be a serious mixed bag. See, that's the thing. Jason put up a finger. It confused the hell out of me for a while when I came back. Once I was out of my, he waved a hand. Gothic, emotional rampage mode, and I had my head on a little straighter. It wasn't always like this, he said. Yeah, he had his moments, but back when it was just him and me, and Alfie. He was a good dad, okay? We used to get along really well. Jason looked wistful. We were happy. We fought sometimes, but he wasn't closed off all the time. I could talk to him. He didn't bottle everything the fuck up 24/7 the way he does now, apparently. Huh, Steph said. That's really depressing. And weirdly nice to know at the same time. Her heart ached for him. For Bruce, too, a little. It wasn't something she'd ever had to lose. Her relationship with Bruce, well, it was what it was. And things had never been like that between Stephanie and either of her parents. But apparently Jason had something good with Bruce that wasn't there anymore. That seemed terribly sad to her. Yeah, you would have liked him better, trust me. Jason sighed. I wish we'd met back then. Even if you were only about 5 years old, we'd still have been besties. I'm exactly 1 year younger than you, dumbass, Steph pointed out. Our birthdays are less than a week apart. Really? I'm surprised no one's tried to throw us a joint birthday party yet. Next year. I meant to ask last night. Did the pigeon make it out okay? Oh, yeah, she did. She's in a cage in the kitchen. I guess she's still asleep? On her way over from the warehouse to Jason's safe house, she'd stopped by a pet store just after it closed and convinced the manager to open it back up again. The look on his face when Batgirl asked for a birdcage and seed for the one-legged pigeon, sure that this was going to end up as a #OnlyInGotham moment. It had been an impulse. Before she'd actually decided where she was going, and before she'd told Oracle that she was tired of getting scolded, and that she was going off calm for the rest of the night. At least the pigeon hadn't seemed upset with her, which felt very important just then. Are you kidding me? Never mind, Jason said, throwing his hands up into the air. Whatever. If I risked my life saving a pigeon, I'd probably keep her too. But she's not staying here, okay? Because I don't even know if I'm keeping the safe house or not, now that Bruce knows where it is. Just until Babs stops being mad at me, and then I can set up a roost for her in the clock tower, Steph promised him. They moved into the kitchen, and Steph pulled off the hand towel she draped over the cage the night before. The pigeon inside cocked her head, stood up on her single leg, and flapped her wings before setting down again. Hey there, troublemaking sweetie, Jason said, poking a finger through the bars towards her. She's kinda pretty, actually. Look at that iridescent sheen on her chest. Does she have a name yet? Pidge, Steph said, making the decision right then and there. Cool. I'm gonna call her Green Lion. Steph giggled. Okay, fine. Hey, so can I put in a request for waffles for breakfast? You can, and as always, you get pancakes, because I do not have a waffle maker. I take it you haven't looked into the bottom left cabinet in a while. She opened the cabinet in question and offered up to Jason the waffle maker she'd stashed in there 3 weeks prior. She'd discreetly broken in one afternoon and been disappointed by the lack of angry text message response. Well, shit. I'm getting soft, Jason said. I really should ditch this place. Pigeons, waffle makers, Bruce. What the hell's going to turn up next? He sighed dramatically as he pulled a box of pancake mix out of the cupboard. How about some posters? This place is a little drab. Do you like One Direction? I like Poison Idea. I was so close. Pidge cooed softly. For some reason, it felt like home. Notes. He's not gonna ditch the place. As always, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, the link to the fic is in the description below. And if you have any requests, let me know. Do you guys want me to add the download link to the YouTube description? Also let me know that.